Hello guys and welcome to my new video, and today we're going to be talking about the easiest healer to play in Shadowlands. And I know this is going to be a bit of a meme video because I do believe there isn't an extremely hard class to play in World of Warcraft that you should stay away from. I don't think there's such a class, and if there is, most of those classes are highly rewarding, they have a high skill ceiling and keeps you playing. But this is going to be a video that's going to be aimed at new players that might play DPS, they might have played tanking, and they're looking to pick up healing for the first time. And I'm going to be listing classes based on their difficulty in Mythic Plus and raids, and I'm going to be listing my recommendations in terms of what classes are going to be good for beginners in terms of the amount of performance or the numbers you can get relative to the amount of effort you put in. At the end of the day, if you play a class for a very long time and if you min-max it, you're always going to have the best results. But before we're going to get started, I want to mention, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. And again, the way that ranking is going to work, S is going to represent a class that is relatively easy to play and my recommendation for beginners. D is going to represent the class that is hard to play. And I guess for many people it's not going to come as a surprise if I'm going to put Discipline Priest as the hardest healer to play. And there's multiple reasons for it. But first, before we go into Discipline Priest, you need to know the difference between reactive healer and preemptive healer. Reactive healer is going to be someone who's going to be healing once the damage is out. If you're a Resto Shaman, you're going to be casting Chain Heal when you see a person needs healing. You're going to be casting Healing Surge if they need healing. You're going to hope to top them up. Preemptive healer, on the other hand, needs to start doing stuff before damage is out. So that means you need to have boss knowledge. By this fact alone, preemptive healers are regarded to be harder than reactive healers, because if you play a Discipline Priest or Resto Druid, which are by many regarded as the hard preemptive healers because they need to apply their rejuvenations around 10 seconds before damage comes out, they need to apply their atonements before damage comes out, and once the damage is out, they're gonna go into their burst phase. Maybe their hots are going to start ticking. If you only start healing when the damage is out, you're going to be looking really bad in terms of performance. So straight away, preemptive harder than reactive, or at least let me know if you feel the same way. And in Shadowlands, this increase is getting even more difficult with talents like Shadow Covenant, which only lets you cast shadow spells for a specific amount of time. All of a sudden, you're gonna have a new burst window in order to prioritize your shadow spells. On top of that, you're getting Mind Blast, a new DPS ability. You also get Shadow Word Death, which used to be part of your healing rotation with a specific legendary that got severely nerfed in the last couple of days. So all of a sudden, it is not as difficult because Shadow Word Death is not really part of your healing rotation. So all of a sudden, as a Discipline Priest, you might have multiple different windows of doing your burst DPS, because remember, you have to DPS in order to heal. On top of that, you might have abilities that might be tuned properly. If Spirit Shell becomes a viable option, you're also going to have another short cooldown, which is going to add another window. Combine that with the fact that this class acquires the knowledge of the boss damage patterns, Discipline Priest becomes one of the hardest healers, without a doubt, in both raids and Mythic Plus scenarios. I do have to mention that I don't want people to be discouraged from playing Discipline Priest because I think it's highly rewarding, it has a high skill ceiling, and it keeps you playing it. Now the second hardest healer is going to be, again, I'm going to put Resto Druid, but I could have placed it in B spot because I feel the difference between Discipline Priest and Resto Druid is pretty big. The main reason I'm placing Resto Druid here is because it is a preemptive healer. It requires you, at least in raid situations and Mythic Plus, to start applying HOTS before damage comes out. If you did Mythic Plus and BFA, if you remember Underrot, Cragmaw, second boss, if you don't have HOTS rolling before the boss starts stampeding, everyone's gonna die. You need to be preemptive. You need to know when damage is coming out, in the same way that in raids. If you're going to say, and maybe there's going to be comments that, hey, Resto Druid is just rejuvenation spam, they either have never played a Resto Druid or they never played a Resto Druid in a good way. Because at the end of the day, in raid scenarios, you have a lot of cooldowns to look after. It requires a lot of boss knowledge in terms of when and where to use your cooldowns. We'll see if Soul of the Forest is going to make a comeback. If not, Tree of Life might still be a good option, which is a 3-minute cooldown, which again, where are you going to use it? You might be using things like Flourish, depending on which legend is going to be strong, and also the fact that do you use Trank followed by Flourish, because Tranquility Hot can be extended by Flourish. You have multiple ways of adding cooldowns in raid situations, on top of the fact that you need to also apply your HOTS before damage comes out. So this is why I place Resto Druid here, but I do have to mention that in Mythic Plus, it can be regarded as a relatively easy healer to play. If you opt in to do a bit of Feral Affinity or Kitty Weaving, I think the difficulty of Resto Druid kind of skyrockets in Mythic Plus if you want to optimize your kitty weaving if you want to optimize your DPS, if you want to optimize your healing, if you want to optimize your defenses, things like that, it becomes a lot harder. If you don't do DPS as a Resto Druid, just put Sunfire and Moonfire, the difficulty of Resto Druid in Mythic Plus drops, but I still feel confident with this ranking at this given point, considering both of their environments. Now, another healer that's relatively hard to play, and again, I want people to disagree with this because I didn't agree with my ranking, but I placed Holy Paladin here. The main reason I placed Holy Paladin here is because I was talking with my chat on Twitch and things like that, and a lot of people consider melee healers to be a lot harder than ranged. And this is why Holy Paladin is here. And I want to hear your opinion. Do you feel that being melee is harder than being ranged? And because Holy Paladin is looking to be like a melee healer in Shadowlands, the playstyle is relatively simple. At the end of the day, you'll be using things like, let's say, Crusader Strike to generate holy power. You'll be using Holy Shock offensively, defensively to generate holy power. You'll be using things maybe like Judgment if you have Judgment of Light talent. You might be using things like Bestowed Fate if you talent into Bestowed Fate. And you'll be using your generated holy power on things like World of Glory, which is a very strong single target whack-a-mole type of playstyle. But it all combines into the whole aspect that you need to be close to the boss, you need to be hitting the boss, and you need to be generating holy power through Crusader Strike. So this is the element of complexity that a lot of people pointed out to me. I played Holy Paladin for quite a bit and I didn't consider melee healers to be all that difficult, but a lot of people seem to disagree with me. So guys, let me know. A healer that's going to be relatively close to Holy Paladin in this ranking is going to be Restoration Shaman. Now I could have placed Resto Shaman in A, but I decided to go into B because I do feel that possible Covenant choices might make it a bit more difficult. Resto Shaman for the longest time, again, is a reactive healer and it has a relatively easy rotation both in Mythic Plus and Raids. In BFA, it was all about chain heal spam. It's probably going to look like that or similar to that in Shadowlands in terms of Castle Natria. At the end of the day, you do have things like Cloudburst Totem, which you can just place and press and you'll probably be fine. Again, if you play a boss fight a little bit more, you can optimize Cloudburst a bit more, but at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world if you don't really know how to prioritize Cloudburst and if you just press it on cooldown, which was very different to Cloudburst back in Legion days, which you had to really prime up, and I feel Resto Shaman was a lot more difficult with the Cloudburst from Legion. But I feel in Shadowlands and BFA, Cloudburst is relatively easy to use, especially because you get 2 charges with Echo of Elements talent. And in Mythic Plus, the healing style is again relatively simple. Generate tidal waves, spend them through your single target heals like Healing Surge or Healing Wave, and if you need AoE healing, you might be using Chain Heal, especially with talents like High Tide. So why is Resto Shaman here? Mainly because of its utility spells. It has so many different ways of optimizing other aspects besides healing. You have things like Interrupt, which is the only healer that has Interrupt. You have AoE Stone, you have Purge. Your healing on the move is relatively difficult to optimize, especially if you don't know when to use your Spirit Walker's Grace. So all of a sudden, healing on the move can be very difficult, and also keeping track of all of your utility spells. It is probably one of the healers that has the most buttons on their action bars. It doesn't mean the rotation is hard, it just has a lot of buttons and you need to press them once in a while type of deal. And it's possible the Resto Shaman healing is going to be a bit more difficult with certain Covenant abilities. Maybe Primordial Wave from Necrolord is going to improve your spread AoE healing, but it requires certain timings. Things like Kyrie and Vesper Totem has a very small range. It also goes into Cloudburst, so making sure you combine those abilities into Cloudburst can be relatively difficult, so that's why I place Restoration Shaman in this position. Now let's move on to 2 healers that I feel are going to be my recommendations for any beginner healer or anyone who's coming into World of Warcraft for the first time. Again, subject to change. It is beta at the end of the day, and that's going to be Mistweaver. The reason I put Mistweaver in A tier is because I do feel that there is going to be 2 different playstyles available for Mistweaver. There's going to be the Upwelling build where you press Essence Font, and Essence Font is going to be your biggest component. And there's going to be the Fist Weaving build. If I were to rank Fist Weaving would be definitely ranked 1 or 2 ranks higher. So keep that in mind. But I feel Blizzard wants you to have an option. So if you don't want to be a melee healer, you can be a range healer with Mistweaver and use your Upwelling talent. So this is my assumption that I'm making. It is still subject to change because it is beta. If you played Upwelling build before as a Mistweaver, you know that Essence Font is a relatively smart heal. You just press it and you try and stay close to other members. It's going to shoot out bolts to them. If you're using Renewing Mist is basically a rejuvenation that Resto Druids have, but Renewing Mist is going to jump from the target once that target reaches 100% HP. So it's a smart rejuve to some extent. And on top of that, you have Vivify, which is your single target healing ability. if you're going to heal a target, it's going to splash heal onto Renewing Mist targets. And because Renewing Mist is relatively smart and jumps to targets that need healing, the overhealing might be minimal. So all of a sudden, majority of your healing toolkit as an upwelling Mistweaver Monk is handled by the game. There is very little that you actually need to really prioritize. Don't get me wrong, if you use Essence Font, you always want to try and heal the targets that have Essence Font bolt on them because it's going to double proc your mastery. Mana can be an issue, but given the fact that Essence Font is castable on the move, given the fact that Mistweavers are super mobile, I always want to put in Mistweavers as a solid option for new beginner healers. Also because they have one of the strongest single target healing in the game. So all of a sudden, if you play a Monk in Mythic Plus content, you can output really strong single target healing on tanks with things like Soothing Mist, Enveloping Mist, followed by Vivify. This combo is extremely strong to bring your tank from the brink of death. You would say that Resto Druid is also a very strong single target healer, but Resto Druid requires build up. You need to make sure you keep the thousands of HOTS that you have on that tank in order to keep them safe. While Mistweaver can do insane amount of healing in a matter of seconds. This is why I feel Mistweaver can be an excellent choice for a new healer coming into World of Warcraft. Not only because of how reactive they are, but also because of their strong single target, their mobility, a lot of their spells are handled by the game. And keep in mind, guys, you also have an option of doing fist weaving, which might keep you playing the game a bit longer. And then my main recommendation for a new healer is going to be, not a big surprise here, Holy Priest. Holy Priest by a lot of people can be viewed as the essential raid healer. A lot of their abilities are suited towards raid healing, and especially new players coming into World of Warcraft, they might not be looking at the healer DPS. They want the healer that just does good healing. Historically speaking, Holy Priest has been one of the best HPS healers, especially if you look at heroic content where you can have tons of players in your group and you can optimize your two big healing cooldowns through Divine Hymn and Holy Word Salvation. You're kind of like a glass cannon that can output a ton of AoE healing. You have an ability to spam AoE healing through Prayer of Healing. A lot of other healers don't really have that choice. In Mythic Plus it's a lot more different because, or difficult if you want to put it, because there's single target healing can suffer, and we'll have to see what Covenant ability is going to be the strongest for Holy Priest. But the reason I put Holy Priest here is because you can play Holy Priest, and my assumption is going to be that Blizzard is going to keep the same niche. Holy Priest is going to be an extremely high HPS healer, but the utility they provide might not be insanely strong for mythic raiding. But as a new healer, you go into World of Warcraft, you pick up Holy Priest, you do a ton of, or get used to healing. It is a reactive healer that most likely will do a ton of healing in raids. You play a Holy Priest, and once you feel you're bored of it, you can go and start playing Discipline Priest, which is an extremely high skill ceiling healer, which can give you a lot of extra hours into this class. And if you really don't want to play healers anymore, you can swap to Shadow Priest. And Shadow Priest got a huge revamp in Shadowlands, and it's looking really fun. And this is the reason I placed Holy or Priest as one of the best beginner options for healers, because I feel it covers a lot of ground in terms of an easygoing healer and in terms of an extremely high skill healer that's gonna keep you playing the game. So this has been my list for beginner healers. Again, even the easy healers, the difference between someone who mastered their class, it's going to be evident. But I do feel that there are certain classes that are just more easygoing. So guys, let me know how you feel about this list. Let me know about which healer you feel is the easiest in Mythic Plus or raid content. Again, this is at the end of the day my personal opinion. I have played a lot of the healing specs, or all the healing specs in BFA and in Shadowlands, and I honestly feel this list might be a decent representation, but I might change it based on possible Mistweaver gameplay changes, because Mistweaver is changing all the time. Let me know, and I'll see you in my next video.